some employers were registering bulk number of positions or vacancies in the expectation that at some point in the future an actual vacancy would arise and would be filled at some point in the future beyond the 10 days, and therefore they wouldn't have to pay a fee.
Why the 10-day period? Why is that a necessity, a condition in order to open a vacancy with the ETB?
The idea has always been that an employer who seeks to engage somebody has to register a vacancy and keep it open for 10 days. That is an obligation. It is set in law. Once that is done, it gives an opportunity to the employment service to look at the vacancies that are available, open for 10 days, consider the needs of people in the job market seeking employment and seek to match that. But where you have vacancies registered in positions which do not really exist at that particular time, there was no need, or there wouldn't have been a need in many circumstances for those positions to be filled, and that created real difficulty when it came to match the needs of the individual seeking employment, which is primarily the efforts that the employment service has to be engaged in. And that is precisely why we have this obligation to keep vacancies open for those 10 days.
The catering industry, that it's an industry which is very turnstile in employment. Transient workers come and go. Perhaps 10 days is not realistic or workable with that sector.
And I do acknowledge that there may be circumstances where there may be emergencies and that it may not be possible in genuine circumstances for employers to be able to comply with that 10-day requirement. And for that purpose, there is a discretion vested on the Director of Employment in order to waive that additional fee for not complying with a 10-day requirement in those exceptional circumstances.
We're heading to Brexit or not. We talk about Gibraltar being open for business. Might this not perhaps dissuade big employers or would-be investors from coming to Gibraltar to do business?
I don't think so. And we certainly don't want to discourage employers from creating vacancies or creating employment. That is certainly not the position. We want to encourage employers to create the vacancies and the employment that are needed at a particular time by those particular employers. But let's put this in context. We're talking of a £17 fee. That is a one-off fee which is paid for the lifetime of that position within the
But some industries do not have long-term permanent positions and do depend on transient workers. That's where costs could be accumulated for small employers particularly.
Well, small employers generally tend to keep employees for some time, but you have a fee of £17, and in respect of registration and filing requirements, you have registration of vacancy, terms and conditions of employment, variations of employment, termination of engagement. All of these forms are required to be filed. In respect of the lifetime of that particular position, there is only one fee, £17. That is a very minimal amount.